So it's lovely to see you here today on behalf of A Yellow Sun. Now, tell me what it was about the novel that attracted you to adapt it for the big screen.
I just fell in love with the characters the first time I read the book. I loved the sisters, Olana and Kainene. I loved Odenigbo, Ugu, Mama, the very irascible but brilliant Mama, Odenigbo's mother. And I loved the stories. And it was also, part of it was set during the Nigerian Civil War, which was when I was born, and a war that has held a great fascination for me since I was a child. And so it was a combination of the fact that, you had this great love stories, and the war. And I thought, I want to make this into a movie.
My baby was in very good hands because the director is a friend and somebody whose work I admire. And now that I've seen the film, it's quite surreal, but it's also very moving to see these just wonderfully talented actors opening their mouths and what comes out, but the sentences I made up. It's actually quite fantastic.
What I loved about the novel Half a Yellow Sun is that it's such a universal story. It's a love story about the two glamorous twin sisters set in quite a surprising setting. It's like a very glamorous, prosperous setting, which is not what people normally expect to see from Africa. And I fell in love with the story because I could identify with the kind of surprising choices the women were making. And because the book has appealed to women across the board, we felt it was an opportunity to tell a very strong story that's firmly rooted in Nigeria but has universal themes that I think appeal to audiences across the world.
It was very interesting to go from Nigeria and a film about some of the conflict there and go straight into, fly over to Louisiana to discuss, a film that, to be in a film that also discusses conflicts that involved Nigeria, involved in the slave trade, involved that exact area, the Nigeria and the Bight of Benin around there, which is where we were shooting, in Calabar, which is why I visited, the slave museums there before I left. And so the two projects, although very different, had certain connections.
It was Chiwetel, I believe, got me involved. I think he'd seen a production that I was in and suggested it to be agreed, and so I was flown out to be a part of the crowd.
My character's Okioma, and he's loosely based on Christopher Okigbo, a poet who basically put down his pen and went and picked up a gun, fought for what he believed in, and unfortunately paid with his life. Why is it timely? I suppose right now Africa has moved out of our past very much, and looking into the future, we're trying to iron out tribal lines. So this shows us what tribalism and sort of that deep belief in that can do in terms of dividing us. I think it's really important for Africa as a continent to start thinking about a way forward and past this.
I played Mama, Chiwetel Ejiofor's character's mother, and she was a tough woman, but really at the heart of it all was the great love she had for her son and trying to protect him. And she was hilarious. At the end of the day, I think in the film, although she started out as a cantankerous character, you really could see through her humanity, and she's just like every other loving, concerned mother. And she made up with her daughter-in-law at the end and actually suggested that her son should indeed carry out the wedding. So it was a very good character for me to play. I could sink my teeth into it. I could channel one of my grandmothers, pipe-smoking, trouble-making woman that she was. So it was fun. It was great fun.
I felt that Tandy was just attracted to the strength of the part. The parts of Olana and Kineni, the twin sisters, are very unusually strong roles for women. And Tandy responded to it immediately when she read it. I think she saw a real opportunity to do a range of emotion in a film. And she's very pleased with the film. She's been kind enough to say it's one of the best performances she's ever given, which I think is true. And similarly with Chiwetel, I think he saw it was just a very substantial role, and it's a story that's very close to his heart and it's close to his own family's experiences.
I'm just proud to be part of it. I mean, as an actor, I'm British born, but I consider myself African, so being part of anything that advances Africa in any way is always a dream, really.
And what was the experience like of filming for you?
It was wonderful and extraordinary and sad and very hard. Nigeria is a difficult place. Calabar is beautiful, but at the same time very problematic politically and culturally. And there's a lot of poverty around. So you're in an environment which isn't really, it doesn't always feel akin to the world of filmmaking. And yet you're there making a film about these people, about Nigeria rather than the people, about Nigeria and its independence. And when it flourished, and I think that's what we don't see, and that's what we do see in this film, is Nigeria when it did flourish before the Biafra War. And actually the first images that journalists came out with was from the Biafra War, so we have this warped vision of Africa back here, the pictures that came from that. And actually we don't see this side, which is actually very wealthy, very vibrant, very alive. And of course then we go into the Civil War, which is a very, very testing time.
It was an incredibly tough shoot, but I loved every single moment of it. And I found from the very first day of the shoot that I just felt completely at home on a set. It was just where I wanted to be. I loved working with the actors. It was great working with Chiwetel Ejiofor and Tandy Newton and John Boyega and Joseph Mawle. I had a great cast, and Onyeka Onwenu actually. I had a wonderful, wonderful cast. I just felt lucky every day I woke up during the shoot.
You mentioned challenges there. I believe there were a few people a bit poorly on the shoot, weren't they?
Yeah, Tandy had typhoid, I had typhoid, a few other members of my cast contracted typhoid. When it first happened, I panicked. And then after a few days, when people were sometimes getting typhoid and malaria at the same time, it became some kind of gallows humor that bonded everyone in the crew. And we didn't actually take a single day off. I mean, there was some kind of insane adrenaline just pumping through our veins, and we made it. We made it.
I think I escaped, apart from a lot of mosquito bites and a lot of nights sort of humidly itching away and trying to get some sleep. I did all right, actually. I was one of the lucky ones to survive that part of it. So no, I came out relatively scar-free.
Well, the high, I suppose, is, whenever they say action and you're working with such great people, the low would be getting a touch of malaria, a little bit of typhoid as well. And yeah, but it was part of the experience. See, at the time you think, oh God, I don't want to be dealing with this. But now I'm just happy. It makes for good storytelling, I guess.
What are you going to take from this film onto your next project?
Well, I've actually just shot an 8-part drama series for MTV based in Lagos. And that was a tough shoot, but it was nothing as tough as Half of a Yellow Sun. And so when my producer there in Lagos was panicking, I just said, listen, this is easy, just take it easy, it's fine. So that, it was like, directing my first movie was also like going to like some really excruciatingly hard film school. And I'm really glad for it.